Hey, welcome to this these channel timeless readings for you when you see it. I know this is on YouTube, it's not live, it's live for me now, but it is actually September 11th, Sunday, but all the readings are for you when you see them, the channel messages, so it doesn't matter when you're seeing this. Hey, Prince Priestess, good to see ya. Baby doll, good to see ya. So Prince Priestess, I don't know if I had like the moment that we've been talking about, but it was definitely stormy and I was looking outside, so it was reminding me of what we were talking about earlier. Just I wanted to tell you that because I thought that was interesting. Good to see you too. Baby doll, how's it going? No regrets. Hello. How are you how's everyone doing this morning? Yeah, you know what? The day's not over and the month isn't over. So I just wanted to say it because I thought it was really interesting. Yeah, it wasn't bad. But I don't know if it was the moment, but we'll see. We'll see what happens the rest of the month. Good morning, Quiche. Good to see ya. How's everybody doing this Sunday? Just a lot of shifts in the air is one thing I am getting. One second here. As we're kind of sitting here, getting ready to jump in is what I'd say. For some reason, I want to say September is going to be a big month for people here. But it really might be the next few months is something I'm saying, just like with just things shifting, with like perspectives on life, with direction even. I know it's Mercury in retrograde now, but like a lot of reflection. I don't know why I just keep feeling like a lot of change though, so we'll see. Morning post-wedding. Hey, I hope you're feeling good. Post-wedding. Awesome. Cool. So we're going to give it 1 second here, then we're going to jump into just the collective messages that came through just for everyone who's seeing it when they're seeing it. For anyone who's new, hi, I'm Brandon. What we're doing today are these channel timeless readings, essentially. Because you're live, it's going to be for you now. If you're watching on YouTube, it's for you when you see it, because I'm likely going to be posting this on YouTube. We just do a general collective reading for everyone here, and then we go through the Zodiac by element, essentially. So sun, moon, and rising. So, we'll have readings for fire signs, earth signs, the like, etc. And then we'll likely do a full channel mode message at the end, where I just directly channel my spirit guides, the angels, and source. So that's pretty much what we're doing today, and we'll see if anything else comes through, or I'm guided to do anything else, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna trust that. I guess people weren't interested in that. That's okay. So they want me to give it 1 second and interact with everyone, and then we'll do the collective reading, essentially. So, but we're gonna, yeah, I'll give it 1 second. I'm gonna take a drink, and then we'll do it. Ooh. All right, let's go. So, collective. And I need to position my lights so that I don't have a huge like shadow coming off of this post-it, but whatever, we'll just roll with it. It's part of the charm. So for everybody here, so this is a channel timeless reading, of course, for the collective, for everyone who's seeing it. The first thing I got here, is there a first message coming through? We're just gonna read what, I have channeled through here, and then of course, my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that's for the highest good as I do. So they showed me daisies was the first thing they were showing me. What they were showing me was a lot of rebirth this month were the words they gave me. They said, you are going to find your ideas about things shifting. I kind of already said this a little bit while we were just sitting there. And you realizing what is next. If you find yourself in a holding pattern, that is temporary. There are big shifts coming in this collective. Okay, so sometimes I channel these through, and then I get on the live, or I start doing a reading, and I start channeling messages, and then I look at what I wrote down, and it's like what I wrote down. So forgive me for any redundancy in that moment there. For anyone who was here before I jumped into this. So I'll just take that as verification of what's going on. But there is a bit of a just collective rebirth, you could say, even through the next few months is what they're saying, but this month in particular, because there is like a lot of old resurfacing to be examined and released and never to be seen again, essentially, whether it's old people in your life. I know it's Mercury in retrograde, so it kind of lines up with that, or just old things or ideas. Maybe you had a dream to become an accountant, and then the idea services, and maybe you even get like a small or an opportunity to do it, but you're like, oh, it doesn't feel right anymore, and you kind of pass. Conversely, maybe you take it and it leads to something new, but there's just kind of that message of these old things surfacing, either to be released or to let go of, so that you can shift into the new you, and the new that's coming for you next year. And I kind of get the message next year is going to be a doozy. And for some of you, that's going to be really good. For others, it's going to be just a lot of shifting, essentially. And I did get a message on 2023 in here. We'll get to it in a second. I thought that was really interesting. We were getting a message on next year already. I believe it was, my guides phrased it as 2023, the year of like higher callings or something like that, which was really interesting. So a lot of people are going to be uncovering their purpose, stepping into higher callings, stepping more deeply into really what they're meant to be doing here. Because one message I was getting on this year, 2022, is like this year has been more of like a soul embodiment year. Like my guides dubbed it the year of the soul. So a lot of rise of the soul, and that can show up in a lot of different ways. That can show up in spiritual gifts and abilities and channeling. It can just show up on being more of on a soul-led pathway, or welcoming your soul into your life more, who you truly are on a higher level, you could say. So there have been a lot of shifts and adjustments to let that in and let them light in more. And you're going to see the action steps following that in the next few years, and more soul embodiment too. I don't think that's over. I don't think we like do something for a year and we're like, okay, now robotically to next theme, boom. You know, I think it can be a bit smoother sometimes, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so I would just realize there are big shifts coming in this collective over the next like month or two, especially through the end of the year, though. We're kind of riding this wave of change, I suppose you could say, that's rolling through everything. So your life might be changing as well, is what I'd say, especially like internally. But it's really going to be both internal and external. So the next thing they showed me, our good friend Elephant showed up to deliver messages about obstacles. And pretty much what came through is, if obstacles are put in your way, you are just being redirected. So a reminder that roadblocks mean redirection. So if you are continually roadblocked, it is time to change course. So if you go to start a shoe business, and it just continually, like, you can't find a manufacturer, your website always goes down, like people always quit on you, no one follows through, like it's just roadblock after roadblock. Maybe you're supposed to start a sock company instead and sell socks. It is the example. Not literally probably what's happening for you in that example, but it's just kind of a reminder, like it reminds me of a story someone else told me, where it was like they kept trying to like get this specific job, and like they kept applying for these like specific jobs, and they kept falling through, and like they'd get the job, and then like they ghost her or ghost them essentially, and then like one day like they were like at their last legs where they needed something, and then they like went to some random place and like called and like saw that they had an opening, or heard about it from a friend and called, and then they just got the job right then and there as soon as they walked in, without like really having to do a formal interview. So it's like, when it's the right path, usually something opens up where it's just like, here you go, you know, let's move this direction. But when it's the wrong path, it's just like continually roadblocked. So just a good reminder for those of you who need that, like you don't always have to fight through obstacles. And sure, sometimes there's a direction you're supposed to go, there's certain things to work around or work through, sometimes yes, but if it's always roadblocked in like big ways and you're just like tired of it and it's been months, maybe try something else, is what I'd say. So another message for you guys right now, answers, a lot of answers coming in this month for you guys. It's not really intended to be a monthly reading, but a lot of these time frames they gave me for these messages for you guys this week were about this month for some reason, or like the next month or so. You could stretch it out to the next two, perhaps, probably 3 maximum for most of you, but a lot of answers coming in, so you will be finding solutions to a lot of things. So any problems, I don't think concurrent is the right word, but any problems that have been like continually a thing, like especially over the last 6 months is what I'm hearing. It's going to start to resolve for most of you before the end of the year, or like in these next few months. Like a lot more solutions are coming in where like you continually feel not like roadblocked, but continually feel blocked or continually feel stuck, if that makes sense. So we're kind of in a time of solutions, and it might not seem like it right now. I know, like, because it's Mercury in retrograde and da 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 da. But for whatever reason, that's just the message I'm getting, is we're in a time of solutions for many of you tuning in your life. Even if it doesn't seem like it right now, like things are going to shift to bring those in more readily, essentially. The next thing they showed me, I know I'm wearing the shirt, but Ganesha came forward for the collective. They just said there's a big road opening happening soon for many of you. So you might not think it is soon, but in the next few months it will happen where like the road opens more. And again, like we're starting to gear up for 2023 and that energy shift. So you're going to start to see things shifting like in you and your life, like for the future that is going to be brought to you in that next year, essentially. And I'm just hearing like that year that's coming up is like big shifts, and also like big opportunity is something I'm getting for everyone here. Like for some reason I'm hearing like halfway through the year next year, or somewhere around there, like there are going to be like opportunities opening up for a lot of people. I'm not sure if that's in the astrology somewhere, if anyone wants to look at that, or I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing. But there are bigger opportunities next year coming in for everyone. So you might start to see shifts and changes that prepare you to receive opportunities, if that makes sense. Even like starting now or just sometime leading up to that big shift or change. And I know like that's one thing I've heard. I've noticed it in myself, but I've also heard a channeler named Lee Harris talk about it. He'll talk about how his guides would say, you know, like when there's a big shift or there's a future that's coming up, like we'll start to prepare energetically and even in our bodies, like ahead of time for those like new things that are coming into our future, is something he'll talk about. And it seems kind of similar based on what I'm getting regarding this message for you guys. But the main message I was that sprung off from is there is a big road opening for the highest good. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, a big road opening happening soon for many of you guys in the next few months here, especially where you feel stuck, if you feel stuck. Next message I have for you, they showed me a moth. They gave me the word death. They said there is a lot of death to the old on a rise. We kind of already covered it. They said over the next month, a lot of old ways, habits, old ideas, relationships, etc., that have run their course will be ending, or they'll be transforming or rebirthing into something new. So there is a lot of death to the old this month, and even like death to the old you. So like just old habits that might rear their ugly head, or you might have something happen where you like come, not literally, but somehow come face to face with an old version of yourself. Like maybe you find, for example, an old blog post of angsty teenage you, and you're like, oh wow, that was really emotionally immature, or something along those lines. And you're just like, okay, I think I can let go of that, and you know, let go of that part of me that might still resemble that. That wasn't the perfect way to say that, but it'll just be easier to let go of the old you, and you'll see more of the truth of the old you. And it's not like old you is always bad and always did bad things. It's more just like you're growing out of those phases and who you used to be, and seeing that more clearly and where you need to go next regarding that. So there's just going to be more clarity about the old you is what I'm hearing, and how to grow out of that and move forward from that, instead of like being stuck in the same patterns, if that makes sense. And one thing I'm hearing is like awareness leads to change. I think I've heard other people say similar things, other spiritual teachers as well, but they're bringing that message through. So as you become aware of the old self and the ways you used to be, you'll be able to see your current circumstances and situations more clearly and evolve, out of that, and where maybe perhaps you're behaving similarly, and kind of change who you are into a new road of self-actualization are the words I'm hearing. So that's what I'm going to roll with on that one. Next message I have here, we did already talk about this because I talked about it earlier, but higher calling. Next year is going to signal a higher calling to all on Earth and on the planet in some way. Next year is a year of higher callings. You are going to begin that transition soon if you have not already, new ideas are birthing. October is when they said that new ideas would be birthing. So next month is going to be really good for, and since these are timeless, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's just however far out the months would be from September, it's that. So next month from whenever you're seeing this. So you will find this, easy to step into the new ideas and the higher calling. So get ready for a higher calling. We kind of already covered that, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. The next message I have here, be gentle on yourselves. It was just something I was just kind of tuning into the group, just collectively, and I just that's what I heard was be gentle on yourselves. They also added in Rome was not built in a day. So if you're trying to build something or work on yourself, or you're upset things aren't moving forward fast enough, just be gentle on yourself. Like, there's a lot at play. There's a lot restructuring in a lot of you, outside of a lot of you in the collective. So you might be trying to force something forward and it's not forcing. It's for some reason they're showing this like visual of someone trying to force the wrong key in the wrong door. Okay, we're gonna go into this visual because it's really interesting. Give me 1 second here. They were showing me this visual of like a door and someone trying to force the wrong key into the wrong door, so it's not gonna open. But then they showed it like this, if you remember the movie Monsters Inc., where they have like the doors that would be on like these like sliding thing mechanisms up on the ceiling. It's almost like the doors are like moving in front of you. So you have these different doors passing through you. And you really just have to wait for the right door to lock into place for you to use that key, because you have the golden key, essentially. You have the key you need. It's like you just need the right door, if that makes sense. So if you're trying to force something and it's not working, wait for the next idea is the way I'm hearing. The more grounded version of that I'm hearing, the more direct message I'm hearing on that intuitive visual I'm getting for you on that one. Like, don't try to force things again, like that roadblock message. Don't try to force things over and over again. Like, there's going to be like a right key, right time situation. I feel like it's soon. I feel like it's this month for you guys tuning in, where you're able to like move forward or unlock something that either leads to a new pathway or just opens the way for you more, this month or next month. But that's it. That's it for the collective messages I have for everybody who's tuning in here while we're going through this. So next is, of course, we're going to be moving to the fire signs, sun, moon, and rising. I'm going to take just a quick break for water. Before I do that, I see Destiny is here. Hello, Destiny. I am always happy you're here. Destiny is, I'm doing great. How are you doing? One of the moderators. I know we have some other moderators that pop in, like China Moon Girl, Texas Jess. I don't think I always see them in chat when I look at the screen, so I just want to give a shout out to Destiny and to any of the other moderators I'm missing, and just say thank you so much for helping chat to move slowly, and feel free to give them a shout out, guys, because they are awesome and helpful. Hi, official floral roses. Hi, Pippin. Welcome. So we are switching from collective reading to fire signs. So I want to put this on at the right time so I can edit it perfectly. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising in your big three and your astrology, this is going to be for you when you see it. If you're here live, it's for you now. If you are here on YouTube later, it's for you when you see it. I'm going to move this so y'all can, it's good. Perfect timing. I'm a Leo sun. I love when that happens. How's it get any better than that? So for the fire signs, sun, moon, and rising, the first, let me see where they want me to start here. The first thing I'm getting, interestingly enough, before I go through the channel messages I have here that I channeled ahead of time, is essentially like it's time to roar. So I do see you like stepping up in a bigger way, but I feel like it's next month is kind of what I'm getting, and you're kind of like preparing for it. Some of you might be called to like step up now and maybe even put more action into something you're working on, or put a little bit more effort towards your dreams and ambitions, and that's a good idea, even though it's Mercury in retrograde, and maybe it'll be a little bit slower, but it's still like worth it, what you gain working through that energy. And once you pop out the other side of that Mercury in retrograde energy, if you want to call it, you'll be so ready to hit the ground running if you're putting consistent effort into what you're building or doing. That is like you like shoot forward like really quickly, if that makes sense, because the energies all of a sudden just like shift in your favor. I'm trying to think of a good, because they're showing me an example of, and I just don't know how to describe it, but they're showing like, let's say you were trying to like wade through Jello or something, some big vat of Jello, and you're churning and you're churning and you're churning, but like once you broke through that Jello, you hit the ground and like woof, because you had like all this like, you know, momentum you were trying to do. Or it's kind of like a truck that like, you know, is like caught on the snow and it's like wheels are spinning, but then it hits solid grippy ground, gets traction, it would be probably the better way to say it, and it just like woof, if that, you know, like once it gets traction. So kind of like that. So don't be afraid to put effort into what your dreams and etc. is what I'd say, you know, for the highest good. As far as like the time to roar message, I want to see if there's anything more on that. I would just, the message I'm also getting is like, it's a good time to be brave and like bold and like just really step up to the plate in your life and like not be passive at this time. It's going to serve you well to be like proactive, taking action on things, not just letting life happen, if that makes sense, and not being steamrolled by other people's opinions. So in every way you can imagine, I would step up to the plate and be proactive in changing things in your life or taking action in your life. Next message I have for you that I had channeled ahead of time, uplift. They said your path is going to lift, but you are going to potentially be like triggered while that's happening. So things are going to be lifting you, but you are going to have to be working through certain triggers, as they do for many of you. So you are being elevated to a new level. There's just like healing to be done before you get there, if that makes sense. And that can happen, for example, when a lot of like high vibrational energy comes in, or a lot of, you know, light comes in, like things that like aren't of the light might need to be examined. Things that don't resonate with that high vibration might need to be released or worked through or worked out of the system, so that that light or that higher vibration can find its seat in you, so to speak, is a way you could phrase it. And that's kind of what you're going through in a myriad of ways, is what I'm getting, is like, whether it's directly like higher vibrations coming in, or it's something in your life that wants to come in that's just like higher, it's better. Like for some reason they're showing me like something like higher paying as well, as like a message I'm getting. But it's like you have to maybe work through some worthiness issues to like receive this and to not sabotage it, for example. I'm not saying that's exactly your situation, but that's an example of that. So something along those lines where something's lifting you up, but you might have to work through some things to like receive it fully or get there. And you will get there. It's just a heads up, I guess you could say. The other thing they're saying is like triggers don't mean the end of the world. They're just like teaching you and showing you where you need to heal. So in some ways they're like a gift, you could say, or like a blessing in that way. And you don't always have to see it as that, but it's just another perspective you can take until you feel less triggered in general. And not all of you are going to be like triggered. It's just a heads up. Again, like that might be happening as you're either healing things or new opportunities come in, or you're raising your vibration and taking to that next level. Next message I have here, new light. So I'm going to take a second to ask, you know, my spirit guides, angels, and source to explain this more, but they said there is new light birthing for you into your life. It could be any form, new relationships, new ideas, new trajectory. You are going to start seeing hope where there was despair. New light is birthing in your life. So it seems a little ambiguous, but it also might really not be. So for instance, like maybe you've always had like crappy relationships, but then you finally have a good one, is like an example I'm getting on that one. Or you always have, not literally, I don't think this is literally you, but maybe you feel like you always have crappy ideas, but then you get like this series of like really good ideas that actually work out, or something like that. So there's almost like a certain element of unbelievableness to this, is what I'm getting, like as it starts happening. But it kind of also reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, I think it's the Two Towers movie, where it's like, I don't remember all the names of the cities and the fights and whatever, but there's that, the main battle of that movie, I think, where there's like this orc siege on this city, and then at the last second, like the sun rises and Gandalf is there, like, you know, at the edge of this hill, and he brings this army from this other city to save this city and the heroes that are trapped inside trying to fight this battle. Essentially, it almost reminds me of that, where it's like it's darkest before the dawn, or you think there's no hope, but then like this new light kind of shines forward where you think nothing's working out for you, and things will work out for you, by the way. But that's just kind of the visual and message they're showing me for this, for you, where new light is birthing into your life, which is cool. Next thing there's more on that one, so we're not done here. This new light can also be healing. So maybe there's been like a personal issue, like your work, like, or a trauma that you're trying to heal or work out of your system that you're working through and you're working through and you're working through and you're working through and you're working through, but you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, or like because they're showing it almost like mining coal. Interestingly enough, like you're in this like mine with this pickaxe and you're like mining and you're like digging this tunnel, and it's like you finally hit this like hit, and it's like you see the light shine through from the other side, from this, you know, impact in the wall. So some of you are actually going to be digging your way out of trauma, is something I'm hearing as well with this message, and it's like you're almost there. So I suppose another quote I could pull in that I'm kind of hearing is, don't quit before the miracle occurs. Don't quit before you're there. And all of you can get there is something I'm hearing. If you feel like that's not for you, I really get that in some way it is for you, whether it's healing or something you think you can't have, like the light is coming. Interesting. So next message I have here, orange. They showed me an orange. They gave me the word orange. It's just a reminder to focus on your lower 3 chakras, and that will heal a lot for you. I've been getting that. That's been a more common message recently in certain readings, not every reading. And I'm almost at the point where I want to check in with myself and be like, oh, do I need to do this too? And what I hear for myself, since I'm already here doing it, is you don't need to do it, but it's a good idea. So, but it's just an encouragement to just check that out for yourself and see like, okay, does that make sense? Does that resonate for me? Should I work on that? I just feel like that'll be helpful for you. And like, in maintaining balance and emotional stability, those would be good chakras to look at right now for fire signs, sun, moon, and rising. Next message, peace. Excuse me, kind of similar to new light birthing. They just said new peace is birthing. So you are going to find it easier to remain in peace. And sometimes we just kind of get blessed with that, where it's just like we have the realizations we need, we have that energetic stability we need, and just kind of like no matter what's occurring, we're like, you know what, it's going to be okay. I can be at peace. It's not worth disrupting the sense of peace that I have. So I feel like you guys are being blessed with peace as well. Like this month is what I'm hearing, and forward. It doesn't have to stop there. Next message I have for you guys, new birth. So be patient as the new births in your world. There are a lot of unexpected things on the way, and your life is going to be shifting in bigger ways. There are a lot of surprises coming in for the fire signs. So they're showing me this example, like someone literally giving physical birth, like a mother, and like the baby is like crowning, I think is what they call when they start to get birthed physically. And like this mother and this intuitive visual I'm getting is like, just get this baby out of me, is like kind of like the, you know, which I personally can't physically relate and probably won't this lifetime, but I can imagine some of you who have given birth or will give birth will maybe agree that that could be something a mother says when they're giving birth. I think I've heard people say that, or heard of people saying that, but that being said, I feel like some of you, like regarding certain circumstances or like shifts you want to see, or like things you're going through, or like you're birthing something into the world and you're just like, let's just get the baby out of me, like get it birthed, get this like created, get this shift done. And you're kind of in that painful in-between moment where it's like it's not quite birthed, but it's like really uncomfortable, if that makes sense in some way, shape, or form. If you feel like you're going through that, I feel like you're almost there. I would be patient. Is what I'd say. Well, let me see if they want to explain this a bit more fully for this good here. One thing I'm getting is you are birthing something big into the world, even if you don't realize it, whether it's a job or a new opportunity or a new direction or a creation of some sort, or even a new you. But you're still like in between like birthing it and like giving birth, if that makes sense. So I'd be patient and know that's coming soon. I feel like in the next 3 months, things are going to be good, at least regarding that. The other part of this message with a lot of unexpected things, a lot of surprises coming in. I want to see if there are any more messages fully for the highest good on that. That would be for your highest good. I think one thing you'll be surprised by is how quickly certain things can shift. It's like maybe your life is one way and then it's totally different the next day or over the course of like a month or weeks. So I do kind of see things turning on a dime for the fire signs, like really quickly and unexpectedly. I feel like it is good. And like the example they're giving me, I don't think it's going to be true for every single one of you. But the example they're showing me is like an inheritance where it's like maybe an estranged uncle dies and like he leaves you $1 million and it's like overnight, it's like, whoop, here's this like shift. You're like, and again, like maybe your body's been preparing it ahead of time. Maybe you've been working through abundance things in your mind, or is like an example I'm getting. And it's, again, that's not going to be exactly what happens for all of you. I'd be very, very, very surprised if it was, but that's just the example they're showing me of how that could happen. So just unexpected developments that lead to better. And I wanted to just double check, because sometimes like surprises they seem really positive. Sometimes they seem like, oh, I did not want my car to break down. You know, like it can go a myriad of different ways, but I feel like this is actually, it's going to seem positive when it happens. I don't feel like this is going to be negative, which is good. I like that. So another message I have for you guys here. Wait, there's more on that. So no, actually, we're just going to switch to the next message. Higher trajectory. You are being called to do things in a better way, even if it is just small improvements in your daily life. Keep trying to improve things and you are on the right track. You also have a higher calling you might be ignoring. If this is you, please consider what you can do to bring it into your world more. For example, it could be spiritual work and helping others directly, etc. Or it could be counseling and therapy, but you manufacture, what's that company? The Caterpillar construction machinery or something, but you like want to be a therapist. It's like maybe it's time to start looking at schools or something, or if you know there's something you're supposed to be doing and you're like doing something else for money, which is okay to find yourself in that situation, by the way. Maybe it's time to consider like, okay, like I know I need this job for money right now to feed my family and not die on the streets and stuff. But it's like, is there a way to start bridging in this work I know I'm feeling called to do in addition to this, like on the weekends or something, just to help feel like I'm more on track? Or is there something I can do to take more action in that direction? But I just feel like it's time to start improving your life, even if it's in small ways. Or give me the word Kaizen, which I think was like, it's really interesting. So I think the first time I encountered it was, I think, you know, somehow like random posts show up, and I used to watch a lot of anime, and so I heard about this anime called like Jujutsu Kaisen, but I didn't know, I know Jujutsu, that's like a martial arts, but I didn't know Kaizen. But then I was at a gas station, and you know how some gas stations, at least in the US, they have this like screen and they try to like give you random facts and advertise to you while you're pumping gas or whatever, because you're in theory have nothing better to do. Though I kind of liked that peaceful moment of just like being while you pumped gas. But anyways, like randomly they just went into this whole definition of like, here's the word of the day, Kaizen. And it's what Kaizen is, after this whole story I didn't need to go through, it's this Japanese word for continual improvements. And it's usually attributed to business, I believe. They talk about it a lot in business, where it's like continual, like how do you continually improve? And how do you continually, you know, for the highest good expand? I'm throwing that, for the highest good expand is my thing I'm adding in. That's not what they said on the screen at the gas station. Probably, obviously, but that's kind of what you're being called to do right now, in a sense. Or like if you were to move in that direction, and like another, like I guess you could say self-help thing. And I've heard like one tarot reader talk about it before. I've read it in self-help like blogs or books as well. But that, like, what if you make something 1% better every day or every time you do something? It's like after a year, if you're making something 1% better every day, it's like that's like a 365% improvement, if that makes sense. So, for example, if I wanted to improve the quality of my social media content, I could be like, okay, I'm gonna get this USB lapel mic, and that way, you know, I'll have a better sound quality. Like that would be one improvement I could do. Like, okay, I'm gonna get a green screen for my background so I can improve the backgrounds more, and like I'm gonna improve the signs, you know, next to live for my live. Is like would be examples of like I'm just making it a little bit better each time, but then over the course that all adds up. And it reminds me again of a principle that I've heard from Lee Harris, who's another channeler. He's great. But it's this concept of like, you know, what you do every day, especially like for self-care or anything else like that, compounds. And I have a bajillion examples I have from my life as well. But for instance, if you wanted to, what's the best way to say this? Like if you're showing up and like meditating every day, for example, which is one you can probably relate to, it's like that's going to compound, and like you're going to find yourself just becoming more permanently, you know, aware, mindful, present, potentially, you know, things like that. Or if you're constantly like balancing your energy fields with Reiki or energetically, like that's going to become more of a permanent, for the highest good fixture, where you're just like, it's easier to be balanced. You just have that momentum going behind it, and it really like builds. Or like if you want to write a book, if you're showing up even just one day a week for the next year, and you're just using that day as your 8 hours a day writing day, or 4 hours, however much you can spare, it's like that compounds over the weeks until you have a book. And then you have that time squared away. It's like, okay, now I have that same time I can edit the book. Now I have that same time I can market the book. You know, it's like that daily habit or weekly habit or whatever compounds, and you can improve things through that, showing up continually in that way. Not to make this well, I don't know. I'll just let this go where it's for the highest good for it to go here. The next thing they're kind of leading me to is Jupiter. Interestingly enough, they're showing me this different message. So a lot of expansion and good luck and like prosperity on the way for the fire signs. But I feel like this is over the next like 12 months or a year and a half. It might not necessarily be like right now, but you're going to start to see like a continual expansion to your prosperity, to your ideas, to if you have a business or like job. I'm also hearing job security, and I'm getting you'll have that. Like if you're worried about that right now, like don't worry, like next year you'll be totally good is something I'm hearing. So a lot of job security coming in for fire signs, even if it's a business, like a business security. But I'm getting this, you know, like that jingle from the commercial, at least in the US, there's the Nationwide is on your side jingle. I'm hearing that, but it's like instead of Nationwide is Jupiter. It's like Jupiter is on your side. So I don't know if there's actually something in the astrology where that's happening, but at least that energy of that is kind of coming in, where you just have this like good luck and expansion energy kind of like rolling. It's almost like it's rolling through your chart is the way they're showing it to me. Like they're showing me an astrology chart, and this energy is rolling through its chart. Even ahead of like where Jupiter actually is placed. I don't know how that works or if that's how astrology works. I haven't like super deeply consciously delved into astrology studies myself. I just channel, I don't just, but I channel the messages is more my jam. But that's almost what they're showing, is that like it's every area is like this energy is rolling through right now. So I would also just say make the most of it. And if you feel called to work on something or do something, like do it. There's a lot on your side to improve your life if you're taking the action to do so and following the inspiration to do so. That's it for the fire signs. So I hope that was helpful and made sense and was just gave some good things to think about for the highest good. So give me 1 second here. Cool. So I'm going to drink water. It's just so I can drink water. You're welcome, Sherry Synthesis. Thank you. Cool. So before we jump into the next reading, I have a story that's pretty unrelated, probably. But there used to be this like coffee creamer, and it was in the US. I know not all the products are in like all the countries. And I know not all of you are in the US typically. But there was this coffee creamer from like the So Delicious brand. It was almonds creamer for coffee, and it was hazelnut, and it was like the best thing. It was like I looked forward to it every day because you put it just tasted like better than hot chocolate. Like it was so good, and it wasn't even super high sugar or anything. And I finally, like last month or 2 months ago, found like a sort of similar replacement that's really good. So I'm super jazzed on that. Um, anyways, we're gonna move to the earth signs next. So I'm gonna drink more water first. So earth signs, sun, moon, and rising. They discontinued my face wash. I feel this, yeah, I wish there was a better way where we just, I wish like when they discontinued a product that you really like, they'd give you like the list of how to make it or something. I think that would be cool, but I know it's probably patented and the intellectual property is owned by someone. They can't just do that, so I don't know. But anyways, earth sign, sun, moon, and rising. So if you have an earth sign, sun, moon, and rising, it's for you when you see it. If you're live with me, it's for you now. If you're watching on YouTube later, it's for you when you see it. So let me see what would be high so much for you to ring through. They're showing me like a crystal, but it's like this glowing green crystal for starters here. So the first message I'm hearing for you is you are glowing, but it's like it's time to like kind of, for you guys, it's time to break through old habits and shine and just kind of like build something new in the world, and something new for you is something they're clarifying as well. So even if it's not totally new in the world, it's new for you, but it could be both very well. But it's really time to start shining, and don't let anyone's opinions hold you back. Like, you're meant to shine. You're meant to be out there in some way, shape, or form. Many of you are meant to be center stage in some way is what I'm getting. So don't let anyone dissuade you from what you feel called to do or what's in your heart or soul right now. It's important you're, again, following your dreams or what you really feel called to. And I feel like that's going to lead to your destiny, essentially, is what I'm getting. And that was kind of a big theme for this reading as well, I believe. Or maybe that was the water signs, actually. But maybe it will be a big theme for this reading that they'll just add in now that I'm doing this, because they said that. Because that is what you're headed towards. And so give me 1 second here. Because they are showing me like this Wheel of Fortune kind of thing, and they're, you know, like that game show on TV, again, at least in the US, where they're like, the Wheel of Fortune, and they're actually like shouting that or like borrowing from that in the message. And that's kind of what you're headed towards, is like a great period of like destiny and like positive turnarounds. And I don't know, that's just what I'm hearing, so I'm gonna roll with it. I'll talk about it. I know people talk about not sugarcoating, and I get that. I think I vibe with that, but I'm also like, when I hear something really positive, I'm not gonna negacoat it. if that makes sense. So, because sometimes I get really positive messages and I'm like, oh, is that too positive? You know, at a certain level, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to negacoat it. So I think the opposite can also be, in a sense, true, where you don't want to negative coat your good messages. I don't know. They told me to talk about it when it popped in my mind to talk about it, so I'm talking about it. But that's what I'm getting, is this kind of this period of like positive turnarounds and like destiny, and like really going for the gold. And like, your main message is to keep going and not like let anyone turn you away from it, like no matter what. Because even if certain things like relationships or even like certain job situations crumble as a result of it, there's so much better on the other side that it's worth it to like leave a lot behind for what you're going for, if that makes sense for many of you. I'm not saying to tank your life right now and cut everyone off and all that. Just like take it as it comes. And you can be a little bit gentle and massage things a bit before you're just like, never mind, bam. I think it can be good to, I'll say it. It's something I've heard from Lee Harris that I also like, which is like, you know, you might feel called to just like cut something out or just like stop something, but sometimes it's good to like sit with it a bit and like just see how you're feeling as you sit with it and let things percolate. And like, sometimes it's like, yes, you do need to. And sometimes it's like, no, I just need to adjust this a little bit. And I'll tell you guys because I'm guided to, but for me, what I've found is like, for my divine guidance, usually I don't get a message that is like, oh wait, you need to like sit with this for a month instead. Usually it's like, when I get a message, I get a message. Like, for instance, like I really felt called to like quit a job one time, or I was working nights. I'm like, I really want to switch to days. And my guides would be like, no. like, yes, you're supposed to leave this job, but stick with it for now and don't switch to days, because days really aren't really good in this location that you want to switch to days in. Like, stick with nights and like keep going with what you're going with. And it really worked out in my favor. So I feel like you can just be accurately, directly, divinely guided through everything without having to worry about that dichotomy. But that's my truth on it and my experience on it. But I also see the wisdom in not just like, you're out of my life and I'm quitting this job, and then you're, you know, because sometimes it's just better to let things develop a bit before you bring out the sword, I guess you could say. So anyways, that was kind of the first round of messages I was getting for you guys. And let me see where we go next here. I know this came through for this fire signs as well, but they're showing me a lion and they're just saying it's a really good time to be brave and bold. And you're kind of transitioning into this, especially if you've been like meek or mouse-like in any way. It's time to stop that. Sometimes we're kind of societally programmed or taught to be that and to kind of roll over. And, you know, like the image I get, or the metaphor I get, is like a dog rolling over to be submissive and let the other dog, like, you know, steamroll it metaphorically. Don't do that. Like, it's not serving you. It's not even serving the people around you. It's actually detrimental to everyone around you, because as you're assertive and I guess you could say strong and brave and bold, you're kind of teaching people how to be, in a sense. It is important to, I don't know if I want to say it's important to, you could say it's important to be your best self as an example for others, even if you feel like you have to set boundaries or tell people no, or succeed where people don't want you to succeed, for example. You're still like teaching them how to be, and you're setting a better example for the world, and maybe even teaching other people where they need to improve if you're standing up for yourself and being bold and brave. And just getting this message, meekness does not help anyone. So I would keep that in mind as well. So the first message I had channeled down for you ahead of time, new trajectory. Many of you are getting shifted into a new path, especially regarding career. You are being careened in a new direction. You are not meant to stick with the old. The more you are open to the new, the better. A lot of shifting in your favor. So we kind of already covered some of that, but I just hear career is shifting for at least many of you tuning in over the next month. For some reason, I'm also getting a time frame of like the next 6 months. I'm getting like the next 6 months we'll see potentially a lot of career opportunity, a lot of shifts and changes in that arena, but it's like something you're destined for. Again, I'm getting this message of like, don't give up on what you want in life and your dreams. It's important that you're going for the gold in every area you want it, essentially. They're also giving me this random message like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, or you scratch my back, I scratch yours, I think is the proper way to say it. I get a message like collaboration is a good idea. If you're collaborating with other people or friends or people you feel called to collaborate with. Not necessarily everyone that comes your way, but the key select few that you really feel guided to and it feels really good to. If you try to collaborate with everyone, you might not be able to collaborate with anyone, because it all just turns into a soup of too many hands in the pot, you could say, but which is not, whatever, you get it. You get what I'm trying to say there. But I'd say collaboration is either key or a really good idea in the future in business, even in like health, if you want to like partner up with a friend to help with, you know, staying consistent on a workout routine, or getting a personal trainer. And let me see if they have any other examples for this one here. Like, I'm getting business partnership would be okay for some of you, and take what resonates on that one. I'll just leave it at that. They don't want me to get too much deeper into that. The next message I have for you, they show me a rainbow. They just said new hope and satisfaction. So there's a lot of satisfaction coming in for you, especially where you've been dreading things. You have a positive turnaround where the universe shows you are on the right track. So where you've been dreading things, the universe shows you you're on the right track and gives you a positive turnaround. So I do get you're on track to be at your best as well, and satisfaction is coming where there is dread, or the other clarifications I have for you on that one. I kind of didn't read that as fluidly as I could have, but hopefully that got the message across. There is a lot of satisfaction coming in, which is good. Again, like I said, especially where you've been dreading things or thinking like, even if you've been thinking like, oh, this can't work out, it's like, I feel like it does somehow. I really feel like the universe is on your side for most of you. Like if you're going through something, or especially if you're trying to like birth light into the world, or bring light into the world, or bring something good into the world, like the universe wants to see that. And the only reason it's going to quote unquote test you on that is to strengthen you for future challenges. And so you're ready to be the person who brings that light to the world, or that business, or that new idea, etc., and can do it strongly and without folding when any type of opposition comes in or increases. Like you're kind of being taught to handle challenge with ease and grace is another message I'm getting while we're talking about that. And many of you might think, I don't personally, well, one second. I want to say what they want me to say, not what I want to say. So what would be highest much for me to say here? And I know that's a weird phrase, but to clarify, I just want to make sure I'm bringing through the highest and best messages for you guys that are for the highest good. Fully accurate. So what would be highest much for me to say here? The message I get is like, it might seem like the universe is testing you, but it's not. It's growing you. And for some of you, it's growing you through certain challenges, but what I'm getting is eventually the challenges get easier because you get stronger. And it kind of reminds me of video games, if that makes sense, because they showed me Super Mario at first, which I think was about like leveling up. Like as you get to the harder levels, it's like maybe the first time you played like Super Mario, like take the original for example, like it's really hard to gauge like the jumps and the distances and how to land on the enemies or whatever so that you can win the level. But it's like after you get to, and in Super Mario, if you're not familiar, there's like worlds like 1 through 8 in the original, I think, and the 8 is like the really hard one that's like crazy. It's like by the time you get to like level 8 and you can do that fluidly, like level 1 is no problem. Like that's not even a challenge. That's just you can do it with your eyes closed, maybe even. For some reason they also showed me a different video game, and I know not all of you are into video games or this topic, but it's the example that's showing up, and it'll make sense once I talk about it. This game called like Metroid, which is another Nintendo game from I suppose my childhood, and like Metroid Prime. But in this game, like you're this bounty hunter in space, and you have all these like crazy space aliens you have to kind of battle with your spacesuit. And but throughout the game you get all these upgrades and all these like health bar increases, and like it's almost kind of ridiculous. Like what you start out with is like pretty basic, but by the end you're just like this super soldier with like, you know, you're like a walking army almost. And it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like maybe in the beginning things are challenging, but by the time you get all these upgrades and all this experience and all this ability to play the game, it's like really like those first challenges are just so easy. Like it's just not even a thing. So all that to explain, like the challenges you're going through now will be easy in the future. So it doesn't mean you won't have ease. It just means you're being grown into someone who can handle things with ease and be your best self. Okay, next message here. What would be highest much for me to get to next? So we talked about Jupiter with the fire signs. They're showing me Jupiter with the earth signs as well. It's a little bit different because I feel like this is about career. You're kind of getting that Jupiter expansion in career and health is what I'm getting. So it's like easier to be healthy, or you're more drawn to it, or like your body might reject certain foods because it's like it's not time to be unhealthy, if that makes sense. So it's going to be easier to potentially increase your health and wellness, like on all levels is what I'm hearing. And again, that's not meant to be a replacement. Never mind. I was going to say it's not meant to replace like medical advice from a doctor. Like still, if you need to go see a doctor, go see a doctor. But all that aside, and also career and wealth, it's like you're getting this like boost, or this like mega boost, especially where you need it. I feel like those are areas that for some of you might have been suffering one or the other or both recently. But the universe really doesn't want to see you fall. It wants to see you succeed. So you're going to get the ideas and the guidance to move forward in those areas in a better way. And it's kind of like Jupiter is like leading you to a new destination with those things, like kind of like we already talked about, but a new destination with those things where I'm getting this weird thing where it's like Jupiter. Some of the visuals I get are just, I wish I had a better way to describe them to you guys, because they're great, but it's like, how do I talk about that? It's like Jupiter like moving, And it's like almost either like has you on a leash, or it's like, you know, when you're trying to like get a dog to follow you, it's like, come on, come here. And it's like leading you through all these like weird things and like these weird experiences and like this new path. And it's almost like carving a new path for you. But if you keep like following it in this visual, we're just going to talk about the visual. It's like it really leads you to this like new door, this new opportunity, or just something way bigger than you expect in your life, than you like thought you could even achieve. So even if you feel led down a weird path, I would take it and like trust it's the right one, and not worry what other people think, because it's like it's actually going to work out, if that makes sense. So hopefully that message makes sense to you regarding that. But you're being led to a path to success is the short version. Next message I have here, they showed me train tracks. They said, you are not being railroaded. So this is an interesting message. You are being lifted above the old path so that you can find something new. Rebirth comes in new. So if you are looking to rebirth things, like the new is where to go, is what I'd say, or bringing new things in, going towards new things is going to help rebirth things for you. Stagnancy is not an option, so do not remain or become stagnant depending on your situation. Keep moving. You are not railroaded, but your track is shifting to better. So maybe in the past you felt railroaded, or it's like, there's only one track for me. I must follow my divine guidance to this destination, as an example. But you're being like lifted above that and being divinely guided in a different and better way, where it's like there's a bit more fluidity and like multiple options. But you're going to start to see new ways of doing things, is something I'm getting. You're going to start to see a new path, but it's just like, before that, it's like you have to get clarity on the old one, and that's what the universe is doing, is like raising you above the track you're on, so you can like kind of see it more and see like even the destination, and then like change things as you will and just start to call on something higher. It kind of reminds me of the concept of like quantum a little bit. Maybe linear versus quantum, but I don't think that's the perfect message, because as I said that, they're like, no. They're like, no. So what is the message here then? It reminds me of like quantum, and like in those theories, it's like things can shift instantaneously, or you can be two places in one. So it kind of like expands the options and opportunities, and like there's like an increased capacity for things to shift or change, or etc. So in a way, it's like the best way I have to describe it right now is like you're being brought out of linearity into quantum or higher. So it's like you have more opportunity and ability to change things in your life. Hopefully that makes sense. But I just like, the way I could describe this is like where you've been railroaded is like you're no longer being railroaded. You're being shown like different ways of going about things and creating a new destination, or a higher calling has been like the theme kind of for this reading, or just new. So I want to say if there's a better way for me to summarize that before we move on. So fully fine, it's good to hear. What would help you the most with that? Okay, the summary I get is just know things are going to shift. You're going to have a better way of doing things. So, and you won't feel like stuck with your path. You'll feel like you can do anything, but for the highest good. So next thing they showed me here was just some advice here. When giraffe shows up, and it did just now, well, it did for this reading ahead of time, I should say. It's usually about someone's path. That's just the way it's honed in for me. That's the way I get the messages regarding giraffe most of the time. In this scenario, what I was getting was like there was giraffe, and then it was about your path, and then they showed this path was a little bit foggy. Or just like you couldn't necessarily see like maybe what your next steps were, or maybe you could, but you weren't sure where it was going, might be a better way to say it. The message that came through is focus on moving forward, whether you feel like you can see the path ahead or not. That is a key to success. Just take the next step. And again, like this path looked foggy and you were taking a step forward. You couldn't really see where you were going, but the encouragement you're getting is to take the steps anyways, even if you're just like, where am I going? Where is this going? Like take those next steps, and it's like all becomes clear. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of, I think this is Indiana Jones, but there have been so many shows that have like spoofed off of this or made a similar concept where you have this like leap of faith where you have to like step onto this pathway that's invisible, I think you could say. And so it's like, it's almost like you see this potential way forward, but you're like, is like what I'm looking for there? As like, is this actually going somewhere? And you kind of just have to take that next step anyways, even if you're not sure where it's going, if that makes sense, or even if you don't think you have a guarantee, because it's like you kind of do, but the main advice is to take a step forward, regardless of how you feel about that future, well, that's not the best way. I want to backtrack on that. Take a step forward, even if you're not sure where it's going, is what I'd say. Even if the path seems foggy, just take your next best step and you'll get there. Next message here: you are worthy of success in your dreams. Keep fighting for them. You are being handed a key to your dreams soon. Keep an eye out for the opportunity. The doorway to your success is coming. So sometimes you're like fighting for something, or maybe a better way is like putting work in. And you're just like, when's it going to happen? Like, I've been working at this for a year. It's coming is what I'm getting, if that describes you and your situation in some way. And sometimes you're just grinding until the opportunity shows up. Sometimes you're putting yourself in the position to, I'll say it, and I know not everyone here is a Jeff Bezos fan, probably, but I thought there was some wisdom, and he's not the first person who said something like this, and there's other quotes that lean to this, and I thought this made sense. And I've heard people like Gary Vee talk about this, and pretty much like it just popped up. It was like a 15-second clip, and it was him talking about like, like a lot of people chase the hot thing or the next fad, but he's like, that's not always the way to success, because that always fades or changes or whatever, and then you're just continually like chasing your tail, which not always true. I think there's multiple ways to success, and I think different things can work for different people, and for some chasing the hot thing might work for them. But his advice that came up, and I'm being guided to reiterate it, I'm not just saying this, was like, find your passion and then like position yourself to catch the wave when it comes. So it's like, for instance, I'll just give this example because I've seen it play out in my life and I can trust this example. Like, an example I could give you would be like me and what I'm doing right now. I know I'm not like I don't have like the biggest, most humongous following ever yet or anything like that. But for like years before I started doing TikTok, I was like really honed in on energy work, on channeling, on talking to spirit guides and spirituality. It was just my like thing. And I just like in my free time, in like every day, in my decisions, like this was what I was headed towards. And it was my constant like thing that I was moving towards just in my life. And like, I felt called, I wanted to, I was guided to do something like this, if that makes sense. So for years I was working on my channeling and my gifts and like other things and moving in this direction. And by the time something like TikTok comes around, I'm positioned to catch the wave when the opportunity to, for instance, like get out to a larger audience presents itself. Because I've done the work to actually be able to channel and know it's accurate and be confident enough to try to put myself out there. So for instance, another example would be if you love, I've heard like Gary Vee use this example, like Pokemon. And it's like, you are passionate about Pokemon, so you start a blog, you start a podcast, and then like, Pokemon's not all, I mean, it's kind of one of the bigger franchises in the world, I think, but eventually like Pokemon Go comes out, or like a new Pokemon game comes and it explodes in popularity again. And all of a sudden you're ready to catch this wave of Pokemon hype. And like you get all these new followers and listeners, and all of a sudden you can build your career. I think you get that example, but I'm kind of getting that for you regarding like something you want to do, where it's like, the quote that also comes to mind is like, I don't agree with this totally, but some people will talk about luck being preparedness meets opportunity, which is kind of the same thing I'm talking about. I think that can be a way luck presents itself. I think luck can also be a frequency that we call into our lives and something we can manifest. It can also be, if you're divinely connected and you're divinely guided and you're on your divine purpose, there can be a lot of things that appear lucky to other people, but it's like, to you, it's like, of course, like the universe wants me to succeed. Like the universe is taking care of me. Like, of course that this is happening, even if it's super magical and miraculous to other people's perception, or maybe even to you, but you know why it's happening, if that makes you, but to you, it's like, this is just how it works. So there's a lot of like that, where it's like, keep grinding and fighting for your dreams and what you want to go to, and like the opportunities come in, maybe even like next month for some of you, but in the future. So all that to say that, I hope that's helpful. Anything else for you guys before we switch to the next reading? So what would be highest and best for the earth sign, sun, moon, and rising, besides all of that here? They're showing this concept, like, again, we talked about catching waves, but we're on this beach, well, what's the best way to say this? The visual I'm getting is like on a beach, and there's these white caps, and there's these waves, but there's this gathering storm. That's the words I hear, gathering storm. But it's like a storm of like, the words I get are like success and abundance, but it's like more than you're prepared for. So some of you might have an opportunity to have more success than you're ready for, and the message is to take it, like no holds barred, essentially, to like really jump towards it. Even if like you're scared or you think it's too much, because it's like you can handle it and like you're ready for it, you just like don't think you can. It's the message I get is it's almost like an elephant that thinks it's a mouse, or it's like it's afraid of the woman with the broom, but it's actually like, you know, 3 to 10 times her size. And it's like same with you. It's like you think you're a little mouse with all this huge wave of like potential success or something, some big opportunity coming your way. But you're actually like a pro surfer that can handle the wave. You're just like, you've been trained to doubt yourself maybe by some people around you or in the past, but don't do that. Head towards it anyways, even if it scares the living crap out of you, is what I'd say. So I would just move towards success and know that your wave is coming. But that's it for the Earth sign, Sun, Moon, and Rising. That's exciting. So I'm wishing you the best with that, and I am asking if you want it, and should it be in the highest good, the angels and the universe and the true highest and most infinite source to urge you towards that storm of success and capturing that success or riding that wave of success in the highest and best ways for you, instead of dodging out of it in any way, shape, or form. And you won't dodge out of it, is what I'm hearing. So, air signs, we are moving to you. Hope that was good. Earth signs, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Spice Wolf. God, I feel like that is coming, but you're right. I feel like I'm not ready. Do it anyways. Do it anyways. Let's, all Earth signs, just do it anyways. So, our next friends, we are moving to the air signs, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So give me 1 second to, anything I need before we do this? Nope, we're jumping in. So, holy for the highest good. Only much for the highest good, air signs. So if you have an air sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this is for you when you see it. And I have channel messages here, and my spirit guides, the angels, and stars will bring through any additional information that's for your highest good as I do so. And I said it's for you when you see it. If you're live with me now, of course it's for you now. If you're watching on YouTube in the future, it's for you when you see it. So for the air signs, where should I start here? I think maybe every sign is just getting a message to be brave right now, because they're starting with like a similar message to the earth signs, like be brave. But I feel like it's a little bit different. I feel like for you guys it's be brave, and of course if you have these multiple signs, it's gonna hit in these different areas, but at the same time even maybe, but be brave and healing. And like I'm getting like a weird message for air signs, Sun, Moon, and Rising, like owning up to or being brave with healing, but even like owning up to where you failed and like trying something different is going to be a key to your success, is something I'm getting. And you don't have to beat up on yourself or think you suck or anything like that, because you don't. What I'm hearing is you're great. At least the vast majority of you air signs tuning into this, Sun, Moon, or Rising, of course. But owning up to perhaps where you failed in the past is going to help you be successful in the future. And I maybe it's just in the air right now, but I feel like you're headed towards success, but I feel like it's long term, and it'd be really good for you to play the long game instead of seeking like short wins, if that makes sense. I feel like if you're playing the long ball, you're going to succeed. Anything else on that? The first message I had, well, I want to go a little bit deeper into that be brave with healing here. If you're brave with owning your stuff right now, I feel like there's going to be a big, vast improvement over the next month or so, and you're going to be, in whatever ways are for the highest good for you, on top, essentially, in your area, and where you need to be on top is something I'm hearing, so keep that in mind. The first message I had ahead of time for you is blow up, BLOW up, not in like a bad way. I actually feel like things are going to blow up in a good way for you. They're kind of showing something being like ballooned. Similar to the earth signs, but they're showing like the word success. It's almost like a hot air balloon, but it's like whoop. So let me see what the highest message is to help you for you is with this balloon message. What's going on here? What I'm getting for you is like where things have been like stagnant or like flat, there's going to be like hope or this like fire that's lit in you or in your life where it's just like you see the path to victory. And like maybe you felt a little bit forlorn or like, oh, it's not possible, but then it's like you see it. And sometimes that's all you need, because once you see how it's possible, like you're just more willing to take action. Like it just flows a bit more because like you see that glimmer of hope, that light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, the good light at the end of the tunnel, and you're able to just move towards it, if that makes sense. I feel like you're getting that in some way, shape, or form. But I feel like things are blowing up for you in a positive way in some area of your life, which is really good. And I think it's going to be a little bit different for each of you, but that's what I'm hearing first and foremost. So especially anywhere you feel deflated or like things are not possible, I think you're getting a glimmer of hope and either a new path to victory or just some type of encouragement or positive blow up that like gets you there in some way, which is cool. They are showing you being lifted. They're loving these balloon analogies for you, which makes sense. Air, they're filled with air. Okay, that's funny. But they're showing these like balloons lifting you out of the muck. So they're giving me the word self-defeat regarding that. So try not to be self-defeating. They're kind of giving me a few different like ways to get this message across to you, but it reminds me of the Michael Jordan quote, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. It's like, don't defeat yourself before you try, or don't defeat yourself before you have the chance to like do something, if that makes sense. Try not to do that in any area. Like I would give things a shot before you give up hope or give up on something. So an example could be like you're starting a blog and you write half of a blog post and then you're fed up and you're like, no one's going to want to read this. And then you save it to your drafts and never post it. It's like, well, maybe that blog post would have helped one person, but then like that one person would have told their friends, and then your next blog post helps 10 people, and then someone shares it on social media, and then your next blog post after that helps 20 people, and then somehow, some way it gets emailed to some A-list celebrity and they're like, check out this new blog. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's kind of this thing of like, again, this quote, don't give up before the miracle occurs, but don't defeat yourself before like you have the chance to really see something succeed, is another message I'm getting for you guys. And on that note, I was wondering why we were talking about success so much, but the next channel message I have here is you are ready for success, but keep working. Sometimes success is a little bit delayed, but you will get there. So all that kind of ties up with that message or ties into that message is what I'd say as well here. I would keep working on things. So on that same note of success, the next message I have for you is they gave me the words a higher road. They said, if you find success and realize you are not happy or satisfied, know that there is a higher road that will be available to you soon. Excuse the pause. A higher road comes. So if you find like some success, or maybe you get into a relationship with someone you want to be with and you're like, oh wait, I'm still not happy. Or like you find success and you're like, yeah, this is good. It's better than before, but I just feel kind of stagnant. I feel like something is coming in right after you achieve that success and realize that. If any of you are at that spot, or you feel like, or you're going to be at that spot, I wouldn't stop going towards success just because I said that, by the way. I would still try to get there, because like once you get there, it's like the next path is unveiled and you're like, what will it take for me to find fulfillment? And then you go down that road, if that makes sense. Or you're just positioned for more success. That's actually what you want to see, is something I'm hearing. So I suppose one of the messages for the air signs, which might have been similar to the air signs, is don't give up on success. It's just a little bit different, because I feel like you guys are, I mean, I guess everyone's working towards it if you're working towards it, but I feel like you guys need to work, is what I'd say, and you'll get there. So anything else that would be for your highest good here? So they want me to go back to the first message they brought forward, which was being brave with healing, with that lion roaring. There is like this inner healing, this healing on the rise for you guys. I'm curious if it's, I don't know why they keep showing me astrology today, but I'm curious if it's in the astrology or something. There might be a lot of inner wounds that rise up to be examined and healed and let go of. There might be a lot of like old ideas about yourself or old ways of thinking about yourself that rise up to be let go of. If you're brave with your healing and maybe you want to book a healing session with someone you trust in your area or wherever works best for you, or maybe you want to do a deep dive following this reading and see if anything's ready to be released here. If you're brave with your healing and facing that shadow and like even like owning up to the past is something I'm hearing, a lot shifts for you in a positive way, like over the next like month or two is kind of what I'm hearing. So maybe a little bit longer, but you know, for some reason I'd really look at that. Or if it comes up, like be brave in facing it and not like running from it. You'll be thankful that you did not run from it. Next message is truth. They said you will be telling the truth more and it will set you free. The examples they were giving me were like a job or a boss or like with a friend or with a lover or even with yourself. And the truth theme has been kind of running the past month or two, I think, where that was like something that kept coming through. And I just feel like it's kind of spilling forward into this reading now too. The other piece of advice they gave me for you was asking for truth every day will lead to change. So for instance, maybe you wake up every day, you're like, universe, please show me the truth, or I'm asking for more truth in my life, thank you so much, or just some mantra or ask of the universe to bring truth in. I feel like it's going to change things in just the right ways, where it's like, for example, maybe you try to change things and you like overshoot and all of a sudden like things are like you have the opposite problem you had before. It's like a weird thing they're showing me, and for some reason the example they don't want to use that example, excuse me, but it's like if you're asking for truth, it's like things shift in like just the right ways, and it's the example they're giving me is like the middle path. I feel like what's the best way to say this here? The middle path, to my understanding, is a story that kind of comes from the Buddha and Buddhist teachings, where the Buddha was watching someone who played a stringed instrument of whatever stringed instruments they played at the time, tune his instrument. And he realized, like, if the string is too slack, you don't get music. But if it's too tight, the string breaks. Or it's too tinny, it doesn't sound as good. But when you get that just right tuning, things flow and there's music and things work just right. So it's almost like asking for truth leads to that like perfect balance of like forward movements of what you need. So I would be manifesting truth for yourself. And that's kind of a shortcut I'll talk about. Okay, what would be high so much for me to say? So redirecting me again. One shortcut to manifesting truth or other frequency you're not sure how to bring about is simply asking for things and manifesting it from the universe. Because you might be like listening to this dude talk about truth and you're like, how do I be truthful? How do I create more truth? I would say it can be a good idea to just cut straight to asking the universe and like manifesting, like, what will it take for there to be more truth in my life? Thank you so much. And do it that way instead of like mentally trying to churn over all your ideas. And maybe you're getting the claircognizant knowings, like, okay, yeah, I need to do this and that, and then that'll help. Or maybe you're just getting the truth, if you channel and you're intuitive, like just as I'm talking, you're just kind of getting those messages, I suppose you could say, depending on where you're at. But if you're not sure how to do it, just ask is what I'd say. So another message for you guys, this was similar to, I think, the earth or fire signs. Peace is on the way, especially where you felt bereft of it or heavy every day. Things are going to lighten up for you. So anywhere you felt heavy, like consistently over the past like month is even something I'm hearing. Like, I feel like that's, for the highest good, those burdens are going to be lifted or it's going to be transformed in some way, which will be good. Especially like mentally is something they're showing me, like mental burdens or like thinking about things in a certain way, like a story you have about things that are making things worse than they actually are for you in your personal experience, which is a big part of what matters in life, is something I'm hearing as well, is like, how are you feeling and doing in your experience, in addition to how are your external circumstances. And it can be a bit of both of those, the internal, external, that plays into that. But shifting both of those, if you want to make changes, can be like a big way to improve things instead of focusing on just one or just the other, depending on where you're at. Because sometimes you shift one and you're like, wait, I'm still miserable at my job. And you're like, okay, we need to change that too. Or sometimes you shift the external and you're like, oh, I'm still sad. Like, okay, what do I need to work on? But both is kind of where it's at. is something I'm hearing for a lot of you tuning in. I don't even think that's just the air signs. I think that's for everybody. Whew. Anyways, next message here. Again, just a furtherance of that message, I think, maybe a bit more. Your load is lifting. If you feel like you've been carrying burdens, the next few months will see a lessening of your burdens so you can do more of what you want to do. So the good news with that lessening of burdens, sorry, I'm working through certain things that are popping up as I'm going through this, is that as those burdens lift, you'll feel more free to do what you want to do. And it could even be like a time constraint is something they're showing me. Like maybe you committed to watching your, as an example, watching your sister's kid, like your nephew or something, every day for the next month. And you're like, oh, what have I done? But I feel like in some way, like certain like burdens or constraints are lifting where you have more time and space or even mental bandwidth to like focus on what you want to do, which is perfect. Next thing, elephant showed up again, our friend elephant. Patience is the key. They said obstacle is being lifted. So, okay, sorry. I like went through a whole thing where like I was getting a really like vivid, I was getting a visual as part of the message with this message. So I like wrote down about like what that showed up like. They were showing this elephant and it was about an obstacle, and this obstacle, there was like this crane like lifting it very slowly out of the way, and you were kind of like sitting there watching your watch, like just waiting for this obstacle to be lifted. And so the main message is like, don't rush when you feel like things are too slow. Things are moving at the perfect pace. The obstacles are lifting even if it's more slowly than you'd like. Patience wins. The more patient you are, the faster it happens. Try to focus on other things. So, and they kind of, I started to move on to the next, never mind. They're hurting me away from saying what I was about to say. Maybe one of these days I'll just flow perfectly and they won't have to correct me every now and then on what I'm saying. But what I'd say is like patience wins, and the more patient you are, the faster it happens is a key to this message. So what would be an example of this? Let's say you go to start a business, but then there's like a processing delay with getting your tax license or something, or your EIN number or your LLC. And you're just like, no, I want to start this business. But it's almost like the sooner you use that focus on something else and like just are patient, like it's like it just happens more quickly, if that makes sense. It kind of reminds me of this phrase that a watched pot never boils. I don't like that phrase because to me it's just like, well, I think a watched pot can boil whether you watch it or not in life, but it's more about the message that I'm being guided to bring through for you than my personal standpoint on it necessarily sometimes, or all the time even. But the other thing they're showing me is like this concept of, I think I got this from, it was like years ago, this writer or author, Ryan Holiday, and he has this blog, and I don't remember what it's called, but he's big on Stoic philosophy, and he's kind of in that self-help vein of writers, and it's this concept of a live time versus dead time. And it's like, the concept is if you have this like dead time, like for instance, like you have like an hour commute to work every day, and it's this time where it's like you have to do this commute, there's not much else you can do, it's kind of like dead time. It's like you can choose to just do nothing with that time and not make any progress on anything and just like groan about it or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with listening to music, or I think sometimes that's important too, or you could turn it into a live time where if you wanted to learn about a topic or trade, like you buy audiobooks and you're listening to these audiobooks on business and marketing and self-improvement on that hour drive. So you're using that time and filling it with something that is moving you forward and useful instead of seeing it as like dead time where nothing can happen. I think the example he gave is he had this job, it was like this 9 to 5, but it was like really boring. So I'm gonna finish up this reading and then I'll probably go get my phone charger so it doesn't pause on you again and so it doesn't die in the middle of the live. So I don't know where we paused there. What I was talking about was a live time versus dead time. So can anyone give me a quick, well, let me see where they want me to start here. So, okay, driving a car, cool. So the example would be like if you're driving in a car and it was about alive time versus dead time. So if you're driving in a car, you have an hour commute, there's nothing you can do about it. Instead of filling that time with nothing or just seeing it as like, oh, I can't do anything, it's just a waste of my time, like you could, for instance, fill it with like audiobooks on like, if you want to build a business, like marketing and like success and like how to build a business, or like self-improvement. And all of a sudden, like that time that was dead time becomes alive because you're moving towards something and learning things, and filling that time with potential to succeed in the future. Or like the other example would be, there was an example the author Ryan Holiday gave in, I think, a blog post where he had this job. I think it was like he had this job and it was like salary, or it was like 9 to 5, but it's like he actually didn't have much to do and he was just kind of like stuck there, and like he couldn't like do much, and he's like he could have used that time to like twiddle his thumbs and just do nothing, or like watch YouTube videos or something that had no consequence. But instead he like took notes on his next book, and he like started, I think he even like maybe even started writing his book or like drafting his book during that time. And so he was using that dead time as like a live time to move forward with certain things. And so that was kind of the way that tied in, was like there was that message of like patience, and like because they were showing me like, if something's in the way and you have to like wait, it's like try filling that time with something else. And then they showed me that reminder of like a live time versus dead time, and now I'm talking about it. And I think that could be helpful just for anyone in any circumstance that they find themselves in like that. Another example would be, because I kind of found myself doing it, and maybe I just read the article and it kind of seeped in on some level, but there was never mind, I'm not going to use my example. I think you get it. I don't want to waste time. The next thing, so anything else I would read for the high school on that one? But the main message was like just being patient, even if it feels like obstacles are being lifted slowly or things are moving slowly, and I think things will move faster anyways. And use your dead time wisely, quote unquote dead time. So the next message I have for you, wait, there's one more thing. I apologize, guys. Well, I guess I don't need to apologize, but give me 1 second. So what else is going on there? I do get for the air signs, things are going to be moving forward quickly following this month. I feel like things are going to be rocketing forward. So even if you feel like things are a little bit dead right now, they won't be in the future. But again, still try to use your time wisely. And don't waste it waiting for things, is something I'd say as well too. Next message, they show me machinery, like construction. They kind of gave this message about your path, but it's almost like your path is being built, like behind the scenes, you could say, like by the universe. And like the reason certain obstacles are slow to be removed is because your path is still being built. So there are new roads being built for you that are not yet completed. That is why patience is needed. So they kind of explain that message in addition to the alive time versus dead time tip there. So anything else for the air sign, sun, moon, and rising while we're here? So I did get this message with I think the water signs as well, but they're kind of showing it for you guys too, where it's like there's a lot of like craziness that's leaving. So you're kind of being shifted out of like crazy times, crazy obstacles, crazy people, and more towards like sanity is kind of what they're showing me. But it's more like part of it's how you use your time, but it's also just like you're being shifted out of crazy circumstances is something they're showing me, which is good. At least some of you, for those of you who that makes sense. But that's it. No more for the air signs, they're saying. So that is what I'm getting for you for this reading. I hope that was helpful and just it made sense and resonated and just leads you to the highest and best path for you, to the light always. And I'm going to take a quick intermission before we get to the water signs. One, because I need to go to the bathroom. Two, because I want to get my charger for my phone so it doesn't die in the middle of the live. So if anyone wants to just let anyone know in chat that I'll be back in like a minute, please do, and then we'll move to the water signs, and then probably we'll see what I'm going to do after that. Probably a direct channel where I'm channeling my spirit guides, angels, and source. So give me like 2 minutes and I'll be right back. Okay. Ooh, I'm back. I hope you guys are well. Cassidy Don's allies. So does anyone believe in cusps? And if so, do you merge messages like these? I mean, for me, I'm open to the concept. I'd say, like, what's the best way to, what am I getting would be the best way to say that? I would go with the one you actually are. So for instance, if you're like a Leo Virgo cusp, but your sign's technically in, your day's technically in Leo, I'd gravitate towards that one, if that makes sense. So like the fire signs one over the earth signs one, if you don't have earth in your big three besides that. But if you feel drawn to the other one anyways, like I would just follow your intuition on that one and your divine guidance, because you know it might apply still, depending on your outlook. Okay, so this is some Mercury in retrograde if I've ever seen it, but it's not bad. Let's get this. Okay, I'm gonna plug it in. Good. So, can everyone still hear me all right? Everything's still good. Okay, so we're going to, perfect, you can hear me. I'm going to take a quick water thing. So this is for the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. Give me 1 second. Cat hairs. Cat hairs everywhere. Okay, so water signs, sun, moon, and rising. This is for, if you're watching on YouTube, it's for you when you see it. If you're watching live, it's for you now. So we are going to delve into the channel messages I got for you ahead of time, and also the channel messages for my spirit guides, angels, and source that are coming through now as we're sitting with this reading. They want me to start with the first one I have written down here. So uplift and major shift, being brought to destiny. And this is where like destiny was probably one of the bigger themes, I think, for the signs here. So a lot of shifts are transpiring in the next months to awaken you further and bring you to your destiny. There's a lot of work to do and you are being brought through it with ease. If you are willing to put in work, your destiny will be easy. Show up and put work into your life and watch things flow. You are on target for success. So success just seems to be a theme for this whole series of readings today. But I kind of like all these messages for you. I feel like it's all pretty self-explanatory as well. I really like that message of if you're willing to put in work, your destiny will be easy, and just to keep working towards things. 'Cause I feel like we talked about in the earth signs, like catching the wave, I think that was the earth signs. I feel like you guys are catching the wave. So similar message, a little bit different because it's like not exactly the same. And if you have earth and water placements, then of course like it'll make sense that they both apply. But I feel like there is a wave you are catching like soon. And just don't doubt yourself as you do it, is what I'd say. Like keep putting in work. The way they're phrasing it is the work you are putting in is you catching the wave. So if you feel like you're putting work into something, I would keep putting work into it. And just know it's leading you to the right place, essentially. They didn't like... Okay, so a lot of shifts are transpiring in the next months to awaken you further. I want to see if there's any clarification that would be for your highest good on that while we're here doing this here. Really, it's all over the map is what they're showing me, because it's like, it's internal, it's external, it's internal, it's external. It's all over the map is exactly, well, sort of the way they showed it to me. Close to how they showed it to me. So just know that it's just happening a lot, but I feel like a lot of this is predestined in a way, or it's just like things you need to go through to succeed. I don't think any of it's bad. Some of it might even be like neutral. It's just like, okay, that shifted. But it's leading you to the right spot and it's positioning you correctly is what I'd say. The next message I have here, we kind of left off on the air signs with this, but it came through for the water signs first ahead of time. They showed me a banana. They just said a shift out of the cray. If things have been a little crazy for you, that's going to shift. No more cray is what they said. I'm also hearing you're not crazy. Maybe you think you are sometimes, but you're not, or maybe other people try to convince you are, but you're really not. You're probably more sane than they are. So keep that in mind, like especially if you're spiritual and it's about spiritual stuff. Like some of the spiritual stuff that's out there is way more sane than the way like other people live their lives, if I'm being honest. And that's what I hear, but that's also what I feel like I've seen too. It's just people don't realize that because of what's been normalized in society, is the way I'd say it. Because a lot of the things that are normal are actually insane. And it's not like the people are all insane. It's just like we've been taught that it's normal, but it's like, why are we doing this? You know? So I don't know, in case you need to hear that. Next message I have for you, above and beyond. You are being called to set your sights higher. You are not meant for menial. What are the things you truly want in life, and how can you start to bring them about today? So it's about taking action. It's not as impossible as you think, even if you have big dreams. Many of you are above and beyond, and in certain ways, or in a bunch of ways, in many ways. So there's kind of a multifaceted message in there. One is just like, I'm getting this message of manifest more than you want, are the words they're giving me. So you might even want like a mansion on a lake by the mountains with a beautiful partner and 3 kids and a boat, and you're like, that's it. I think I would be so happy if I had that. But they're like, okay, set your sights higher and just manifest more than that anyways. I'll tell you this as well, because it's kind of popping in as another message. I initially heard this in a reading I watched. I think it was like Chris Reck on YouTube. He does tarot and stuff. And he was talking about, like, in one reading I watched, this was like months ago. He was like, you know, I would like wish for like the utmost. I'm going to paraphrase the heck out of this. He was like, I would just wish for like more than you want. It's like 10 times, 100,000 times more. Because it's like sometimes you ask for something and then it shows up and you're like, oh, I could have asked for more. And I just had that moment with the person I'm dating, because they were like a few weeks ago, I think, or a week ago, because like they were like manifesting like certain things, and then it just like showed up, and they were like, oh, I should have asked for more, because it's like, if it was that easy, I would have just asked for more. So it's like, I thought that was really interesting, but that showed up in both those places. But I'm kind of getting that for you guys as well, to reiterate that message, where it's like, you know, set your sights higher with what you're manifesting, because you might get that mansion and those 3 kids and that beautiful partner and that boat, but then you're like, oh, I could have had 2 mansions, or like, oh, I could have had a thriving business and this passive income and I wouldn't have to go to work still, or like, oh, I could have, you know, like there's that extra layer of like, oh, wait a second, now that I'm here, what about this, and this? So I would just ask for 10 times more than what you're manifesting now. And like, however much you think you want, ask for more, because it's like, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if this is a channeled message as much as something that's just popping into my awareness, is like, there's all this examples of people who, you know, you get what you want and then you realize there's another level, and then like you get a certain level of success, and like maybe 5 years ago you're like, man, if I had that, like that would just be so awesome. But it's like, then you get there and you're like, but now I want this too. So it's like, which is fine. I think that's normal. I think that's can be just how it goes. But at the same time, like, why not get ahead of the curve on that? The other message I like is that you are above and beyond. Many of you are better than you think at like at least something, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, or at something you're trying to accomplish, or something you do, or your field. So I would own it and just let the universe show you you're better. And when people tell you something, like you're good at something, listen to them. It can be easy to like someone to say like, oh, you did amazing. And then you're just like, oh, but yeah, but I could have done this too. And you're like, okay, stop. Maybe that's true, but maybe what you did was perfect and exactly what that person needed. And it was just right at the same time. And of course, I think improvement is great. I think moving towards improvement is great, but don't let it take you out of the joy of the moment, and don't let it make you think you're worse than you actually are, is what I'd say. Because you can still be accurate with knowing where you're at with something and still move towards improvement and be happy with where you're at the same time. That seemed like some mental gymnastics, but it probably made more sense to you the way it came out of my mouth. So anyways, so what else would be so much for me to bring through for you guys here? I do feel like you guys are improving as well. I think this came through for the fire signs. I feel like you're getting up leveled in a way, because they're showing this platform, this floating platform, and there's like all this water, but the water level is rising, and as the water level rises, so too does the floating platform. And it's kind of like the universe is like inevitably causing you to rise through like the pressure of the water level that's building, if that makes sense. So you guys might just find yourself lifted, and maybe sometimes it seems challenging. I feel like it's actually not. It's just like maybe on a mental level, like things are moving you up and you're just like, oh, can I handle this? But it's like really this platform really just needs to float there. Like it's fine, if that makes sense. Or it's like maybe the water is pouring through from the top and it like hits the platform and it pushes it like close to under for a second or tilts it, and you're like, oh, can I handle this? But it always comes back to the surface. So I would trust that you can handle the improvements coming your way, and you can handle the new levels coming your way and new things. But you're kind of being forced to rise, but it's easy is the way that it's coming to me. So just know that. Especially like, and there's two ways this could play out, I'm getting. One is frequency, like your frequency is rising. And it's like impossible to go back down, but that's a good thing, even if you think it's not. And like the reason you might think it's not is like, oh, I'm too high frequency, now I can't enjoy this show because it seems like it brings me down, and so I can't enjoy it. But maybe there's new higher frequency things that come in that you can enjoy way more, and then you get to have a bigger impact on the world is like an example that's coming to me. Because like maybe you can't watch that show, but maybe you get really into channeling artwork, and then channeling artwork becomes like this thing that helps a lot of people, and that time that was filled with this show, which may or may not have been a good thing at the time, you enjoy this creative flow and process that's maybe a lot different, but higher vibrational and is an example. The other way they were showing it to me was like you're improving at a like skill or something. And like I'm getting a weird example, like maybe you wish maybe you missed the old days, or like thought you used to be better, but actually you weren't. You're just like in that weird chrysalis stage where it's like you're in between stages, and as you keep rising, like you get better and better and better, and then as you get the awareness, like, you know, in the future of like where you've gotten, and then look at where you were in the past, you're like, oh, I'm way better than I was back then, and I can see where I thought I was better back then, but I actually wasn't, and I was actually better then and now. So so I feel like you're rising in skill and or rising in frequency are two ways I'm getting that. But it's both of those for most of you. Okay, next message. The message was, I think this is just a running theme for you guys right now, truth, more truth on the way, but I feel like it's unavoidable. It's just time for truth for the water signs. Probably for everybody, but I feel like it's really focused on you guys right now, where it's just like, it's going to be very like, and like I wish this wasn't the message, but it's the message I'm getting. Is like, it might even be truth that stings sometimes. You're like, oh, I didn't realize I was being that way. Or it can be like, I'll talk about it. I'm doing my best to give credit where credit is due when they're guiding me to give a message that I've heard from someone else. And like, so for instance, I got this from Lee Harris, was a channeler again. And one thing he talked about is like when truth rises up, and like truth becomes like a theme and something we're confronted with, it's not always like easy and fun. And for some people it's like, yeah, let's like dismantle the patriarchy, truth be revealed, or whatever. It's other people, it's like, it can be uncomfortable because it's like, maybe you see like, again, like a post from the past, and you're like, you see this truth of how you used to be, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna delete that. Like, and then like you kind of see this uncomfortable truth that way, and it's like a little bit like, or maybe it's like you thought your job really cared about its employees, and like it was a happy, fun, lighthearted place to work, and everybody cared. But then it's like some email gets leaked, and the boss is like talking about how they can, you know, shrink wages for people, and they can do XYZ to, and how like they think their employees stink or something, and somehow that email gets leaked, and you're like, oh, it's like that truth is really uncomfortable and not what you wanted to see, and it's kind of a shock to the system because you thought you were just living your best life at this job or something, and then it's not that. So some of the truth might sting, whether it's about you or it's about certain situations. I would be open to it. I think like and I'm going to use this analogy. I know some of you are like allergic to bee stings maybe, and so it's like not the perfect analogy, but in this analogy, you're not allergic to these stings. And it's like, it stings, but it's temporary, and it like, it actually leads to better and to more healing. So even if it stings for like a minute or like a day, I feel like you're going to be okay. It's really not the end of the world, and it's actually really minor in the grand scheme of things, or even just in general. So I would keep that in mind, as there is like a lot of truth coming in for the water signs. Another theme, like truth and peace, have just been like these past, I won't even say couple months. I feel like those two themes have been just like coming. Peace, the message is like not to give up on peace. Like you are built for it. It is time for peace. So it is time to let go of what holds back peace. So you might be called to take stock of, or you might just either, even with like the truth that's revealed, see where it's like, where are you not at peace? What is holding you back from peace? And you know, it could be it could be like a location you live and you realize like, wait a second, these neighbors are always really anxious and I'm really sensitive and I always pick up on it and it's ruining my day. It's time to start looking into moving. Or, you know, another example could be, you know, if you're sensitive, you're picking up on the anxiety and you're like, another example could be, it could be a partnership. I'm not saying this is you, I'm just saying this as an example, where it's like, they're always like nagging you. And the second you find something good and you're at peace, it's like, they always have like some type of trouble they want to stir and ruin your day because they can't have anyone else peaceful when they're not peaceful. Or I don't know, maybe they feel like if they're not getting attention, they're unloved and they have that story running. And so, I don't know. It just, and that doesn't mean you have to cut off that relationship, by the way. It could mean you have a conversation to get rid of that obstacle that's in the way of peace, is like through the conversation of like, hey, I've noticed this pattern. Is there any way we can work on this or change this? Because it's really having this effect on me and I want this to work out. Is there anything we can do, or is there any way I can help you with what you're going through with this so you feel more loved and don't run this, which might not be the best way to do that, but that's an example. So it's just time to kind of take stock and examine of like what holds back your peace and like change those things, even though it's Mercury in retrograde. And the other thing I'm hearing is a lot of it's just things that are going to fall away naturally as you become aware of it. Because it might be like, an example I'm hearing is like, maybe you have intrusive thoughts, but then you kind of become aware like around it of like, you know what, that intrusive thought never actually like is real. It never manifests. I've had it for like a year now. And then all of a sudden, like as that awareness kind of envelops it, it kind of stops, it crumbles, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that's the key to healing intrusive thoughts. It's just an example that came to me while I'm doing this. So that's what I was being shown to say. So I'll just say it. So we're gonna move on to the next message. So another message for the water signs is just rapid healing. So one second here. Okay, so we're gonna do it. You are going to be healing quickly and going deeper into your soul. So many of you thought you were done with your healing, but you're not. There's another layer to uncover. It will be fast. So get support if you need it. I feel like it's going to be like, what I was getting was like, it's going to be like a day or two, maybe even where you're just like really moving through something really quickly. It might even be this week whenever you're seeing this, is something I'm hearing for some of you. And it's not going to be the end of the world. It just might be like almost like a healing crisis moment. And if you're not familiar with that term, like in Reiki, like with the Reiki attunements, there's usually a 21-day, what they call a healing crisis. And for some people, it's really kind of a crisis. For others, it's kind of just letting go of certain things and just certain emotions kind of purging and things like that. For other people, it's like this, I've seen it be pretty intense, but I've also seen it be pretty gentle. So I think it depends on what that person's ready for, where they're at with their healing, etc. But all that aside, what I'm getting for you guys is this potential really rapid or quick healing that's coming in, where you heal something really quickly. But there was this message of like, get support if you need it, like phone a friend, book it doesn't have to be with me, book a session, book with someone that you can trust and feel good about, just whoever you feel called to. So this is just kind of what I'm getting. So it's more about you getting what you need than, you know, is kind of the point. But next message I have here, is there more on that one here? And one thing they're kind of saying is like, as some of these layers of healing are unveiled, you might realize the healing never ends, or you might feel that way, but that's okay. What that's really showing you is to slow. There's like, the thing is like, I've heard multiple things about this, so I want to balance this message and make sure I'm getting it to you in the right ways that you'll understand. One way you could approach it, if you feel like there just keep being these additional layers of healing unveiled, is like you don't always constantly have to be in this like healing crisis mode where everything's big and traumatic and all this stuff is happening. Like you can slow down your healing. I think I heard this from Lee Harris as well, but it might be a little bit different. And like you don't have to like throw yourself into the next healing crisis right away the second you've healed something and like unveil the next layer. Like you can be comfortable with like a steady pace of healing. The reason I want to balance this message is because I've also heard like just in readings like I've got or just from other people like this message of like, oh, it's like you're always healing and it's really beautiful. And I see that almost more like the Wolverine healing factor is a metaphor, not literally, where it's like you're always healing, you always have this healing energy. I think that's a bit different than constantly throwing yourself through healing cycles and healing crises. So I wanted to differentiate those in case you've heard anything similar, but I feel like this is more about constantly throwing yourself in a healing crisis and like trying to dig into something. And maybe sometimes things are healed and there's nothing there that you need to go further into. And other times it's just, there's always another layer. So keep that in mind. Next message I have here, there was a moment where I was just sitting with these messages ahead of time and they want me to tell you guys as I'm telling you this story, but sometimes there are moments where it's just like, where they're really trying to show me something or the message is coming through in a different way. And it's like they force my eyes closed, or it's like I just can't help but like close my eyes and like get a visual or a message really strongly. And like they kind of close my eyes and they show me these waves lapping up against shore. And the message and the words I got were like their path is rearranging. So you are going to find a lot of rearrangement on your path. And for some reason, they're showing me like Sonic the Hedgehog as like an analogy. It is kind of this message of like all paths lead to the same place. And this is a really funny way for them to give it to me. But in some of like, if you've ever played those games or if you haven't, to describe it, there's sometimes these levels and you're just supposed to like run really quickly through these levels, and maybe sometimes there's enemies to defeat. Don't take that literally for your life. I'm trying to explain this, and whatever, and you're trying to end to this run to the end of this level and kind of get to the next level, I guess. But it's like sometimes there's like these divergences in the level where it's like you can take this way, or you could like take this, you could grind on this rail up here, or you could run in this underground tunnel down here or something like that. Why is this relevant? Well, let's see if they get me to that. The message I'm getting is like your path is kind of rearranging into something different than ever before. So it might seem like confusing or disconcerting, or it's like there's not a lot mentally to track back to really relate it to. It's kind of like uncharted territory, if you will, but it's a little bit different than that at the same time, because it is, but it's like the message is a little bit deeper. So what is the message here? I would really trust that like your path transforming, and trust that for the highest good, all paths lead to the same place. Even if you have nothing to track it back to, like just keep moving forward. As long as you have forward momentum going, you're gold is something I'm hearing. So I would let your path transform, and maybe the transformation, even if it's something you've never seen before, to your path is the highest and best way, is something I'm hearing as well. I want to see if they want to explain the Sonic the Hedgehog thing a little bit more, because I'm not sure how that totally linked into it. Though you might be listening and I've already understood it. So I just want to get a brief summary if it would be for the highest good. That would help you guys for the highest good here. One, that could just be like a sign for the reading. So if your path starts to look different and then like you see Sonic the Hedgehog, you're like, oh, okay. Two, on that one, it's kind of similar to the air signs a little bit, but it's like or one of the other signs, like there's a higher way to go about what you're doing, and you're going to be shown that. So don't be afraid to take the rail instead of the underground tunnel, even if you've never taken the rail before, I guess is a way to say it. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to move to the next message. So, there was just a quick reminder to, honor you. It is a good idea to honor yourself, and even take this as it resonates. Honor yourself before others. What do I mean by that? I definitely don't mean become a narcissist and punch people in the face so you're the one who gets the turkey on Thanksgiving. I'd still be kind and genuine and authentic and yourself. but it can get to a point where you are degrading yourself for the sake of, or what you think is for the sake of others. But it's actually just like a lack of honoring yourself and your path and what you're built for and what you're here for. Because you're a person on earth too, and you deserve good things too, and you're worthy of good things too. And living your life for everyone else isn't a good idea, because then you're kind of taken off what you might call your soul pathway, or what you're built for and meant for. And if you're constantly like bowing out for the sake of others, or dimming your light for the sake of others, if that makes sense too, you're not really honoring yourself or your path or what you came to earth for. And like the message is, you're here for a reason, and some of you have big missions, some of you have purposes, and take that as it resonates. You probably already know or will hear about it sometime in the future if you're not sure what I'm talking about. And so like honoring you allows you to fulfill that mission, which helps you to honor everyone else. But honoring it's like the airplane analogy: put your mask on before putting other people's masks on, unless you're divinely guided to do something different. But honoring yourself like allows you to honor people, because you're set and you're taken care of, and that way you're just good. Otherwise it's like you might not, and this won't happen, but otherwise you might not like get to your soul destined pathway, because you're being taken for a ride by everyone else's wants and desires, and you're trying to put everyone else first, and it just doesn't work out well, is what I'd say. So one other message that came through that I thought was interesting. Okay, they're moving me in a slightly different direction. They're showing me an orange here. Again, this message of balance being restored. I feel like you are restored. I think you're just like waiting for the verification, if that makes sense. A lot of you are more balanced than you realize, so I wouldn't overly worry about that. That is something I'm hearing, weirdly enough. So I just get this message: you're more balanced than you realize, and try not to let, unless it's really on and it's really helpful for you to hear, try not to let other people talk you out of that. Otherwise you'll just be like balancing all the time, trying to balance all the time, and you won't get anywhere, is something I'm getting. And that could be even just balancing yourself energetically. That could be balance in your life when you're already balanced, but you're trying to balance more. And so it's like, what are you doing? I don't know. Weird message, so take that as it resonates. But anyways, next message I have here, new truth. Give me 1 second here. Okay, they just said, you are going to be speaking your truth more and more and more, and helping a lot of people. Never hold yourself back from truth, no matter what people think. They'll learn. Be honest. So pretty much just a reminder to always speak your, speak that essentially, and not shy away from it. Again, I get this message, to maybe just reiterating it from the future, like you're headed towards your destiny, and like bigger things are in store for you. It's kind of similar to the earth signs about like riding that wave, but I feel like a lot of the changes that are forthcoming are the waves that lead you to your destiny. So if things change, I think you're the second, I think the fire signs got this too, but if things change like really unexpectedly for you, or things take a different direction, or your path evolves in a really interesting way, or you're in new territory you've never seen before, just trust it. It's like that's what's leading to your destiny. It's almost like you're stepping through a portal that leads you to it through these changes. So I would see change as a portal that leads you to your destiny, and not anything else. Weirdly enough is kind of what I'm getting. But that's it, is what I'm getting for the water sign. So they want me to close the message. I hope that was helpful and made sense, and I didn't ramble too much or anything like that. Okay, so we are going to move to a full, well, I call it full channel mode, but directly channeling my spirit guides, angels, and source, totally for the highest good. I feel like the theme is success, which is funny because we've been talking about success like all readings, all readings along. So I'm going to just take a second to water myself. Fun fact, I always used to thought the phrase like watering the dog was a little bit weird, because like the phrase watering is like reminds me of plants, like with a watering, I can't. Sometimes when I'm in like channel and intuitive mode, I can't remember normal words, but the thing that you fill with water and water plants with, it's like the visual I always get when I hear like watering a dog or watering someone is like someone just like dumping water on them. So I don't know, but I think people still use it, so it's legit, right? Feed, water the dog. Okay, so anyways, all weird personal stories aside, this is about to be a, hey Lacey, great to see you. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna put this on at the right time, like right before I start, so I know when to edit it or timestamp it for YouTube. So I'm gonna channel my spirit guides, the angels and source. The theme I'm getting is success. The name my guides gave me for them is the Angelic Collective of Zorbital. And it's usually for these lives about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll see. They want me to tell you, yesterday I did like a 30-minute channel on like freedom that I think I'm gonna post to YouTube later, but it's more just like for YouTube and for Instagram. So hopefully TikTok doesn't nerf this live now that I've said the word YouTube in it. But so that's might be coming out soon. I'm gonna we'll see what I end up doing with that, but I don't know why I want to say that. But this is gonna be probably a little bit briefer than that, but we'll see. I'm not gonna limit it. So this is gonna be a channel message. So again, I'm gonna take a second. I'm probably gonna start coughing a bit, and then usually what happens is my my spirit guides, the angels and source, for the highest good, they laugh, and then they start the message, and then the message goes from there. And I'll talk about it. For anyone who's new, there's usually there's more aspects actually, but there's the verbal words that they're saying. There's also the for the highest good channeled energetic transmission from true highest and best infinite source that does energy healing and energy work that's for the highest good, usually healing. It's usually about the topic, but it can be whatever is for the highest good. So so give me 1 second, and I'll probably start coughing, and then we'll get going. So what would be highest must for you to channel through today? Welcome for the highest good to this channel, and we understand many of you are here with us live, and many of you will be watching in the future on YouTube or through other methods. Whether you are listening or viewing, it makes no matter. The energy gets to you either way. And even just encountering this channel will lead you towards success for the highest good for you, and we would say it's success of the soul. For many of you came here for success, but what does success really mean? In some ways, it's a very human term. It is often relegated to business, though some of you also relegate it to areas like relationships or abundance, or even spiritual practices and finding success with connection to spirit. And we would say that's very wise of you, for success can be found in every area and is not just one definition or one size fits all. For each of you have different things that would feel successful to you, and you're not all built for the same things. Some of you are mountain climbers and you would love to climb Mount Everest and be at the top, and that really fills you up, and that would be a form of success, is climbing that mountain. Others of you actually do love business and your financial success and helping the world through an engine that you build like a business to bring profits to you and to employees and to others, and to bring a product or service that helps others, and it becomes this self-sustaining engine that is its own thing that brings good to the world. That is your jam, and that is your success. And others of you it's raising kids, and raising kids that are good in the world, and that is your success. But you are all headed towards it. You might not think you are, because you are not Bill Gates in a mansion with Microsoft and Xbox and all these glamorous things and a Bugatti in the driveway. But success is what you make of it. And success is what your soul signed up for, in whatever ways resonate for your soul. And one of the keys to success is, what is your definition of it, and what is your soul leading you towards that would feel successful to you? Is it 3 kids and a white picket fence? And We are not judging. Any dream is a good dream as far as we are concerned, as well as long as it is benefiting yourself or others and in alignment with the highest good. Because any dream leads you to your soul. And you might not think that it does. You might think one is just climbing the corporate ladder for personal gain and harming the world through seeking corporate profits because it's dumping sewage into the ocean or something. But they are trying to connect with their soul. And seeking success is one way to do that. And hear us out. We are not saying to seek success at the expense of others. We are asking you to seek the success that resonates for you. And as you do so, you realize what's in alignment. What did you achieve that was in alignment with what you want? What did you achieve that did not lead you to joy and fulfillment and happiness? And you can start all over again or build from where you got previously, from the platform you built for yourself with the previous success. And you might think physical success does not lead you to your soul. But as you achieve success in an area you want, it causes you to reflect because you are no longer burdened with the desire to achieve a specific physical outcome. And if you get that and it is not what you wanted, you are forced to come back to you. You are forced to stop seeking external validation through what you are seeking to achieve. On another note, some of you might find it odd that your soul would call you towards certain areas of success, such as a platform on social media, or a large financial firm, or something of that matter. But think of the impact you could have, for instance, as part of a soul mission, through the achievement of that physical success. You could perhaps achieve a large social media following about technology, but then all of a sudden you have a big spiritual awakening and everything flips. And maybe you're being given a chance to bridge the two worlds, the physical human technology and the spiritual. And you're able to subtly bring that in, and at the very least bring in that frequency, that higher vibrational frequency. And all of a sudden, you're turning more people onto spirituality. And you're helping to heal others through the subtle words you say in your videos, through the intention you're bringing to your videos. And maybe that experience of building that platform gives you the opportunity to build a second one that is more focused on spirituality, should you choose to transition into that other field, that other topic. And maybe half of your following is willing to follow you to that, from the technology side to the spiritual side. Maybe you build a gigantic financial firm, and maybe previously you were not interested in helping the world or nature. But as you get there, along the way, there are certain books, there are certain hints from spirits, from people around them, that get them more awakened to the state of the planet and what the planet needs, and more in tune. And suddenly you have a multi-billionaire who wants to see a better planet, who wants to see a more aligned human interaction with the planet that's more healing for the planet. Suddenly, that success has positioned them for a big soul mission to heal humanity's relationship with the planet and how humanity is using the resources to make it more sustainable, to change things for everyone. But many people might initially judge that step towards fame, that step towards money, because they think it's not spiritual or it's not for them. But everything is spiritual in a sense. Spirit is all of it. It's all interconnected. So many have been taught to judge things as not spiritual because of religion, funny enough, but not even religion is always spiritual. It is a set of rules that humans have made up and handed to each other and said, this is what God said. And is it? Sometimes, not always. But then you just have humans following human rules in the guise of spirituality that is not really connection with the divine. And we would say connection with the divine always trumps and supersedes religious rules or even other rules others have for you. in a household, etc. So it is all of spirit. So be careful to be careful of judging your drive for success, others' drive for success in any area. And we have not even spoken of love yet. Perhaps you, deep in your soul, always feel a longing for a loving romantic relationship that lasts. And think of, even as you go for this thing you want, this target, if you will, the healing you need to go through to have and sustain a relationship. You need the emotional intelligence. You need the mental bandwidth to care for yourself and another, to consider another's needs. You have to go through the pains of the past and perhaps heal certain traumas regarding past relationships to get to a healed state where you can mentally and emotionally sustain a healthy connection. You even have to heal yourself so that you are healthy enough for a healthy partner. Otherwise, the healthy partner will likely not stay with you. So think of all the good that occurs even in going for a potentially seemingly to others selfish goal. That's not selfish. It could be soul-led. And as you become more healed, think of the impact on others. And yes, as you raise your frequency, so too do you raise the frequency of those around you. Your energy fields impact the world around you, and those around you, you are healing others through that way, yes. But also the emotional intelligence you gain through going towards this success begins to rub off on the people around you, and you're bringing more emotional intelligence to work, to the conversations around you, and you are helping to open other people's minds to a more emotionally intelligent way of being that starts to cascade through the collective through this small, simple act of going towards your success. So do not judge success, nor your will for it, nor your drive towards it. Because what else are you accomplishing as you head towards success? What else is happening behind the scenes in your soul? Open to the possibilities for the highest good. And that is why we wish you to actually seek success and not give up on your dreams, on what you're headed towards, whether it is small or big, whether it is getting better at tarot cards, or it is getting better at playing darts, or it is getting better at relationships, or it is building a multi-billion-dollar corporation, or it is running for president of the United States. Because what will you build on the way to that success? And what will you uncover and discover as you get there? And how might things change after you get there? And you are all headed towards success. One of the drivers of the next few years will be, what is your success? What is your abundance? How can you bring it about? Because you will realize it will help the world. Not only you, but the people around you. So it is not selfish to head towards success. We do not necessarily recommend stepping on faces to get there. But even then, perhaps you are learning not to do that. Perhaps they are learning. Perhaps there's something karmic to work through there. We still do not recommend it. Many of you won't. You're not there. You're ready for healthy. You're ready for aligned ways of action. But the main message we wish to leave you with has been accomplished. Your success helps the world. Your dreams are not selfish. And each of you has your success that's right for you. So do not compare yourself to another. Do not think you are lacking success, though that could be a driver that causes you to change things. So do not judge yourself if you feel lack of success either. Perhaps that's what you need for the next steps. We will leave you with that. The transmission for the highest good is complete, and we are wishing you the best. May the highest dreams find you, each of you. May your soul achieve the success it seeks, And may you achieve the success that would spark your dreams alive for the highest good of all. All is well. We leave you there. Signing out for now. With love and peace, grace and abundance. May the highest and best find you. Farewell. Okay. I liked that one. I don't always remember all of it, but I think I liked it. You're welcome, guys. Okay, so I'm getting, for this live, probably no more. Great job to you and your guys today. Awesome. Thanks, lady. I appreciate it. You're welcome, guys. That was very freeing and supportive. Yes, loved it. Pretty magical. How's it get any better than that? I love that. Thank you, Angie Z. So today rocked especially hard. Go drink all the water. Heck yeah, that's my aim. I really want to improve these for you guys and just make sure they're good. And make sure I'm on it when I'm showing up. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. But I appreciate the opportunity to get this for you guys. You guys rock. I love that I get to do this for you guys, and I appreciate you. So I'd say I hope you guys go out and rock the world and live your best life, and right in line with what you're doing. Perfect. Cookie Grace. Oh, that's awesome. But I'm wishing you the fully for the highest good, the best that would be for the highest good for each of you. Brandon, we need a GF reveal. We'll see. We'll see what I'm guided to do on that one. That was so needed. Awesome, Kishay. I'm so glad it got to you and helped you out. Thank you for that. You're welcome, Source Soul. I love that username. Okay, they are guiding me to end it, so I will leave you there, and much love and appreciation, and I'll see you next week, and may the highest and best of transpire. I'm wishing you all the best for you, and farewell.